Alrighty, good afternoon. How is everyone this afternoon? We need to get excited because you're about to spend the next 90 minutes with me. So we're going to go on a magical odyssey of all things media. Super excited that you could join us today. My name's Steve Sobel. I'm our global industry leader for communications, media, and entertainment at Databricks. And we are thrilled to welcome you to our Communications, Media, and Entertainment Forum. We've got an amazing lineup today of content and of speakers. First, you'll hear a little bit from me in terms of what we're seeing in the communications, media, and entertainment space. A little bit of kind of trends and how customers are embracing the Lakehouse for communications, media, and entertainment. Second, I will be inviting Duan Peng to the stage. She is the SVP of Data and AI at Warner Brothers Discovery. Not sure if any of you read the news, but a lot of exciting times going on at Warner Brothers Discovery, so we couldn't be more thrilled to have Duan join us. Then we will be having an expert panel. I will introduce the panel, as a matter of fact, right now. We'll have Martin Ma, who's the VP of Engineering from Warner Brothers Discovery, Bin Mu, the VP of Analytics, Data and Analytics at Adobe, Bhavna Gadania, who is the Head of Strategic Partnerships for Acxiom, Rafa Zambrano, who is the Head of Data Science from LaLiga, and Michael Stewart, who is the VP of Marketing Science from Condé Nast. We could not have a better panel representing pretty much every facet of the media and entertainment industry than we have here, and we're super excited to welcome them in a little bit to join us for a vibrant discussion around all things big data, AI, and ML in the media and entertainment industry. But before we get there, we have the great fortune at Databricks to work with many of you here, and thank you, those of you that are customers. We have customers, whether it is 10-person gaming studios all the way up through companies like Disney, AT&T, Comcast that literally have hundreds, if not thousands, of users using Databricks. So we have the great fortune of seeing a tremendous amount of innovation on our platform, and many of you in this room are really unleashing tremendous amount of innovation and really leading edge use cases, which we'll be talking about in some cases today. So before we dive in, just a little bit of a starting place on kind of grounding ourselves on what's going on within the media industry. Any of you who've seen me present before, I've retired this slide, but I have a handy slide that came from the Harvard Business Review. 2016, they did a survey of executives across every industry where they asked, how much is your industry going to be disrupted by digital in the next year? Unsurprisingly to all of us that work in the industry, media executives were number one. Their business was going to be the most disrupted, followed by telco number two. And all of the M&A activity that we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years really bears that out. Scale is one way to compete in this new market. And when you think about kind of the changes to the industry, specifically in media, we see this massive shift towards subscription revenue. I know we'll be joined by Michael from Condé Nast. They clearly have gone through a transformation of print to digital, of ad focus to subscriber focus. We'll have Duan and Martin join us that are part of streaming services. The whole industry is going direct to consumer. We see that kind of the traditional way that companies have gone to market that have been advertising led, that's shifted. And really, we look at companies like Warner Brothers Discovery, like Disney, that are reinventing themselves around having a direct-to-consumer relationship. And really, the whole industry is following suit. We also see companies that are looking to compete with the, used to be the digital duopoly of Google and Facebook, but throw Amazon in there right now, because of course, 70 cents of every dollar is spent on one of those three platforms in terms of transacting digital advertising revenue, which leaves the rest of the incumbents really trying to figure out how do we amplify, how do we compete, how do we amplify, how do we differentiate our business around data when it comes to driving better advertiser outcomes. Privacy and compliance, this is a huge area. There's not a day that goes by where I'm not asked, what's your point of view on cookieless world? How are customers driving better attribution now that cookies are going away? We're seeing kind of a double down on customers really trying to enhance and amplify their first-party data strategy as a means of kind of coming up to speed on these different compliance and privacy regimes. And there's a lot of kind of vendors in the marketplace that are creating a lot of noise around things like data clean rooms, which we're super excited to have announced yesterday to being able to support clean rooms. We think that this is a major initiative and is going to be absolutely critical for each of you in this room that are either publishers or marketers. And last but not least, I think the fundamental shift that's happened with many media companies is you've been forced to become, instead of wholesalers, you've been forced to become retailers. And that requires a different competency than you've had before. Media companies have always been about creating content, you throw it up against the wall, it sticks or it doesn't. Now it's about right time, right place, anywhere, any channel, anytime types of content experiences. So we're seeing a tremendous amount of learning from incumbents in the industry that maybe didn't come from a consumer experience background, but it is now a board level initiative around how do you create different differentiated experiences with big data, AI, and ML at the core of everything that you're doing. Not to be outdone, for those of you who are joining us from the communications industry, as consumers, we see commercials all day long about my new 5G network, 5G, 5G, 5G. This is the most innovation and kind of the biggest change that's happened within the telecommunications industry, certainly within the last 10 years. And we're seeing a lot of operators that previously might have been heavy on-prem that are accelerating their path to cloud simply because they need to be able to meet the scale, the velocity of data that's going to be coming from their network as they modernize their 5G network. So we have the great fortune, some of you here might be from companies like T-Mobile, AT&T, Rogers. We have a number of customers that are really in the middle of transformation and kind of modernizing their data stack as a consequence of being ready to handle the scale of 5G. Similar to media, telcos oftentimes were born out of utility companies. I think telcos and airlines in many cases are kind of at the bottom of the stack of companies that are evaluating or that are kind of measuring their NPS scores. We are really seeing innovators in the space like T-Mobile that have really focused on CX as a means to mitigate churn, provide value-added services. That's now becoming the benchmark for how many other operators are shifting their businesses. Competition in new models. We're seeing low-cost carriers, MVNOs. We're cord cutting. Cord cutting is here. Many of you have cut the cord. I probably should admit I have, but I have, as the telco and media guy. But we're seeing a tremendous amount of change. We're seeing triple play platforms want to be quad play, quint plays. So we're seeing this tremendous amount of opportunity where, again, telcos are reinventing themselves around what are the adjacent services that they can be driving with their end users. And last but not least, automation, IoT, machine to machine. There's a tremendous, everyone has devices. There are more devices than ever before. There's a massive opportunity to be investing in automation platforms, deriving more insights from things like chatbots and the like. And really, we're seeing a double down on the investments that are in this area. Regardless of all of the innovation that is going on in the media industry, in the communications industry, data, AI is at the center of absolutely everything that you need to be doing to win in this market. Whether it's understanding who's on the other side of your content and or experience, whether it's understanding who's on the other side of your advertising, how do you deliver better outcomes for your advertisers? If you're in the telco world, how do you deliver better outcomes for enterprises that you're serving? Regardless of the need, data is really going to be the differentiator to set yourselves apart. And when we see what companies are doing and kind of the promise of machine learning and AI in the industry, comes down to a few different things. It's the ability to drive personalization at scale, and we'll hear about this from some of our panelists today. How do you drive smarter one-to-one experiences, mitigate churn, and really be a value-added service to your subscribers? How do you monetize your content in a more meaningful way? When you look at the history of content companies, it's pretty incredible that they've been able to do such a magnificent job monetizing their content with manual process. The promise of AI is to be able to derive more insights, more value from the content that you have. And last but not least, innovation. We're no longer in a world where IT teams, where data teams can be a roadblock to the business. In fact, I would argue data teams and IT teams have to be ahead of the business, anticipating the needs of the business. So driving agility and innovation is absolutely critical to winning in this market. Sounds lovely, but the world that many of you are living in is complex. Many of you are kind of standing over burning platforms that maybe your predecessors have put into place. Many of you have been put together through, many of your companies have been put together through years of mergers and acquisitions. Data is sitting in siloed. You're not deriving insights from your unstructured data. Getting data out of ad tech and martech systems is often very hard. So the promise of AI and machine learning is often elusive to many media organizations. How much do I price my content? Who's on the other side of my experience? Am I providing a quality of service, quality of experience that is requisite with what my customers expect? And ultimately, the promise of platforms like Databricks, and frankly, the promise of the lakehouse for communications, media, and entertainment is the ability to take all of your data, make it ready for any use case from AI and BI, and do it exceptionally fast. You've heard all of our product announcements this week. We're super excited about it. Things like Clean rooms are going to be a game changer for this industry, and it's something that many of you have asked me about, and something we're super excited about. And we see a massive opportunity within this market to accelerate things like clean rooms, accelerate things like how do we augment CDPs, very industry-specific use cases that our customers are asking us about. We're building the best-in-class platform to bring any use case to us and hopefully accelerate your journey around all things big data, AI, and machine learning. So what this looks like in practice, when we're talking about any type of data, typical workloads that we see in from our customers, and kind of the challenging workloads that we often see customers struggling with. Things like being able to ingest clickstream data so that you're feeding that to your product development teams so that they can deliver a best-in-class experience. Being able to wrangle ad server logs, marketing tech logs, being able to handle unstructured data like video, like images. I think the most innovative use cases at Databricks exist in this room of media companies, of telecommunication companies that are looking to move exceptionally fast around delivering great results for the business as well as great results for their end consumers. And our ability to handle any type of data at any frequency is a differentiator, again, being able to run on any cloud. And we have customers that are extending our platform for industry-specific use cases, some of which you'll hear about today, mostly aligned to areas like audience experience. How do I create personalization at scale? Things like advertising performance and optimization. How do I drive better stewardship and yield of my inventory or better outcomes for my advertisers? Things like content lifecycle. How do you derive insights from your unstructured data, from your videos, from your images, so that you can optimize things like digital asset management systems or optimize your content supply chain. In telco, network analytics use cases. There are n number of use cases that we see customers bringing to our platform, and I think we're still in early innings on the level of innovation that customers are delivering with Databricks as their platform. So with that as our preamble, I could not be more excited to welcome to the stage Duan Peng. Duan is the SVP of Data and AI at Warner Brothers Discovery. We're thrilled to have her share some of her insights on how she's operating and some insights on the business. So Duan, welcome aboard.
Thanks, Steve. Where's Bobby? Is he here?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's too close. We're good friends. We're good. So Duan, of course, you have a big role at Warner Brothers Discovery, but tell us a little bit more about what you do and kind of how you're managing your team and scaling for success.
Yeah, sure, and it's a great pleasure to be here. So I started, 2020, leading the data and AI team and for HBO Max and Warner Media, and now I think most of you guys know with the new combined business, Warner Brothers Discovery. So I step up, to lead the combined data AI team for Warner Brothers Discovery streaming business. So my team, we support all the business functions, globally across product, marketing, content, finance, strategy, and really leverage, data and AI capabilities to maximize our audience, their experience, and really deliver the world-class storytelling to drive, our streaming business growth and, our partners across, the global business.
So, you look at HBO Max, of course, Discovery. These are like massively scaled platforms that need massively scaled data platforms. Would love to hear a little bit about your experience on kind of, building a data platform from the ground up. What are kind of some of the things that, as you've built your team and you've kind of evolved the data platform across Warner Brothers Discovery, some of the things that you focused on there?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say, the data platform is a critical foundation, right, to enable, all our sophisticated data science, analytics solutions. So when we think about, the data platform, we really look at, what is the needs from the business and how are we going to really build a data platform to drive business outcomes. So we connect the business with technology and really think about, what's the right architecture so that we can enable all those, applications capabilities. So there are a few things, right? When we think about, obviously, I think Steve mentioned, right? In the business with the variety of, all the different data sources, right? Every day we ingest, hundreds of different data sources. There's structured data, unstructured data, right? A lot of the text data, video, audio data. So with the massive data coming in, how are we going to think about, the data platform, the architecture that can really, ingest, process, the variety of, the data sources. and also, the speed and scale, right, we're operating. So now we're operating as a global business, right? Different regions, different countries. And then, with that massive scale, and we also want to, really build our real-time applications, right? Like online learnings, personalization. So, how are we going to really build our platform to, to enable that type of scale and speed, and be also more cost efficient, right? So that's always, a big factor, right? So, and another thing is just, we as a team, right, as a data team, we want to really, kind of combine, all the different functions of the data, like data engineers, data scientists, BI, analytics engineers. How can we really, work in a more unified platform, right? Bring, the BI and the AI applications, into one platform, and then so that we can continue, building that scale and the iterative learning cycles. So those are the, factors we're thinking, when we build the data platform. And then when I look at, I think this back probably a couple of years ago when we started this journey, we look at architecture, right? We saw, like the traditional data warehouse solutions, there's the gap. We can't really deliver the capabilities, applications, we wanted to achieve. And then we started this journey and then looking for the new technology partner, right? So start working with Databricks, and thinking about building the next generation architecture and really, introducing the lakehouse architecture, looking at ML flow, how we really, connect the dots all together and building that unified platform. And nowadays, ingest the real-time data from, clickstream data, videos data, and then using that data to build a real-time personalization, a lot of sophisticated data science applications to power all the decision makings and operation efficiency for our global business.
And I think a big thing that we see with our customers, they kind of come to us and they're saying like, I just want to build a self-service data capability. And building a capability is not just about building and kind of picking the right platforms, but it's also about picking the right technology partners, whether that is integration partners, whether that's ISVs. Tell us a little bit more about how you think about this, like in addition to how are you kind of thinking about the ecosystem that surrounds your data platform?
Yeah, so finding the right technology partner is so critical, right? And I think like I would just look back, this is a journey, but I think we think about the technology partner, we think about the technical expertise, right, in this domain areas, because we want to actually move into a more modern technology, architecture, right, to accommodate a lot of the business needs and use cases as mentioned earlier. And we also think about, how we can bring, the cost-effective solution. With all that in mind, most critically is really we want to find a partner that, their vision and solutions align with what we want to achieve. So we're in this journey to, as a lot of disruptions, right, in this industry. So we want to accelerate our innovation and transformation. We want to find a partner that really can help us, right, to bring that industry innovation, right, to the front to drive, the competitive advantage for our business. And then obviously every like partnership, like every relationship, right? So we want, to have open communication, being transparent, having the commitment. So all this come together, we find the right technology partner, right? So we kind of start working with Databricks, and I think it's definitely a journey, but we have seen very exciting results.
You mentioned personalization, of course, like that's a big focus, and good, bad, or otherwise, many in this room are like, some are like, yes, this is the number one initiative for us, and others are, I'm tired of hearing about personalization, and in some cases, they'd argue it's a little overdone. But I'd love to hear, what are the use cases that you're building that you think are kind of the most critical to the business, and the ones that you're kind of most excited about?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely personalization is still, as mentioned, everybody talking about that. We did, build the record engine, the search engine using machine learning algorithm and leverage, the data platform, machine learning platform capability. I would say, there's also, critical areas, right? One big area is about content. end of day, content is the king, right? So we compete, with our, content to how we're going to create the content, deliver the content. So, the data science piece, we use a lot of the data, right? Data science capability to, to understand things like how we allocate content budget, how we schedule the programming, using, a lot of insights, right? We learn from the consumers. And also, like how we're going to look at, a title when the title release, how the title going to perform. So we do a lot of predictions through the title, life cycle, and using that insights to drive, better content marketing, driving, working with our content executives to inform their decisions around acquisition, renewals, green light. And also, building like more content AI solutions, right? Building, content, processing the video, image data, audio data, and then building the content AI, building the content knowledge graph, and using that research to continue driving innovations in the space.
I think one of the most interesting things about the industry, it's clearly in transition where, if you think about people that are greenlighting content, they're literally making decisions on tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars on, specific titles. And in many cases, the history of Hollywood is such that I know better. It's businesses built on gut. I'd love to hear, and we talked about this earlier around, how do you think about, getting people who traditionally, building a culture around data, such that people who traditionally have not really looked at data, they're giving it a second look in terms of making those better decisions? Yeah,
definitely. I think, I would say this is definitely a journey, right? We're nowhere near, the ideal state where, we're still figuring out, what's the best. I think that really critically is bring the arts and science together, right? So I think the creative side, they have a lot of great ideas, when they think about the content to make. But we also, bring more data, the insights, right? Especially when you go to direct to consumer, that we have a lot of insights, how and when, where the consumers, they consume the programming. So with that type of insights, we provide, I would say a better basically, story and context to our content executives. So then when they think about, the decisions, around the green light or, renewal decisions, they really look at the insights and understand, what audience really, they are telling them, right? So I think, it's end of the day, I would say art and science coming together. I think, this is the most exciting part, in the media entertainment world, right? How we really, I would say bring the best programming, right, to the right audience and the right timing and the right location. And we'll continue working on it, but I think that's make, this whole content space is just so fascinating.
I think it's, you rightly call it a journey, and I think everyone in the industry is on this journey of trying to figure out what is the right amount of, there was someone in this audience who said, their approach was human plus AI. And I think it's kind of like bringing people on the journey with you and getting them comfortable around, we're not here to take your jobs. We still value the judgment that you're bringing and the experience that you're bringing, but also how do you start to layer in that data to be smarter about the decisions you're making?
Exactly. I think, bring, as I was saying, the creative side, right? One side, the art side, and then, bring the science, bring a lot of insights, and combine them, in the best way to deliver that, consumer experience. I think, again, right? Every company is working on this and trying to, figure out the best way. But I think, that definitely I consider as a differentiator, to the business to be, the leader in the space.
So we're here at Data and AI Summit. This is the first time we've held this event in person. We had a little hiccup during the pandemic, called the pandemic. You had to build a data team and a data platform during this time where you're hiring people remotely. You are kind of building a team and operating a remote team. Tell us a little bit about that, what that has been like, what has kind of been the learnings for you, and kind of how do you attract and retain talent knowing that, the traditional way that we've worked is probably going to be a bit different moving forward?
Yes, I think the last 2 years, just like, I think it's very challenging for a lot of people. But it's also, like I think create, the opportunities, especially I know a lot of people now, in the last 2 years, they're probably consuming more content, and then especially in the streaming, growth. So I would say we hired actually most of the people during pandemic. The team grow multiple times, over the last couple of years. We focus a lot, I would say, one is on the recruiting piece, right? Mm-hmm. So we want to, recruit the best talents, but also we look at the talents, not only just, technically strong, also, having the curiosity mm-hmm. and the resilience, I think is important. This industry is very dynamic, right? So you have to be resilient, to manage changes. And then we also focus, even like people, are remote working, but we still do a lot of the, I would say, the team bonding activities, try to really bring people together. And we create, special, topics and workshops around, burnout, around, how we really, like build better collaborations, how to build a culture, right? So the culture is very critical. And I would say we focus a lot on building the DEI culture, the diversity, equity, inclusion. We want to build a culture that really, bring the best talents and be open and transparent. And everybody will have a voice on the table and bring, all those, different, diversified, ideas and opinions and drive the best solutions. So I think the culture is critical to attract the top talents, to the organization.
So there's kind of the talent component of the last 2 years and kind of bringing best in breed talent. And I know everyone in this room is probably like screaming to the ethos around like needing more data engineers, more data scientists. We see and hear it like every day. But there's also the like consumer experience portion of it. It's everyone was at home for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Direct to consumer services had of course a major amount of growth. How did you think differently about kind of the use cases that you were kind of building and thinking about deploying during that time? Like, did you have to? Did things kind of course, I know things changed, so I'm kind of leading the witness, but tell us a little bit more about that.
So there's a lot of dynamics, right, in the consumer, I would say how the consumer, consume different programming, even like, with the shutdown of theaters, right, and obviously, there's opportunities, for streaming, side. But end of the day, I think, we really focus on, understanding the consumers. It's our business is really like the direct-to-consumer business is we understand, their consumers, their interests, right, their needs, their behaviors, and the changes, in all of those things. And then how we're going to accommodate, our basic capability, our product features, our content to accommodate those, taste, behavior changes over the time. So I would say, with, pandemic now, probably, start kind of, the market start opening, right? So you again have, the movies and theaters, right? And we continue also, growing the streaming business. So end of the day, how are we going to really optimize, the content life cycle and deliver, any, I would say, from the big screen, to, the home entertainment, how are we going to drive, overall, consumer experience, right, across different locations and places.
And do you think about that in the context of both like offline and online experiences and like how you're joining those up, or is it like strictly through the lens of, digital product?
I think the work probably going to be as, we are opening again, I think we're going to see, many different probably places, right? The different distribution channels, of the content, and the consumer can really enjoy that in different, places across location, across devices. So I think, how we bring some of, say, like the online experience, but also the offline experience, and then create, a better, I would say, the consumer experience in the whole ecosystem is critical to, to help, drive, overall growth of our business.
So you've been on the journey now for, a few years in terms of, building out a team, building out a data competency and capability. We have some in this room that are, just kind of at the beginning of their journey of building out this capability. What nugget of advice would you give, kind of twofold question, like number one, in terms of the journey of building out a platform, what advice would you give in terms of what's the best place to start? And then number two is someone who's been a kind of practitioner and now someone who's an executive, for those of you that are kind of starting out in your career, what are kind of those nuggets of advice you'd give to those folks as well?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say, we're in a super, super exciting time in the media entertainment industry. I actually made a jump, from I was at the Wall Street to Hollywood a few years ago. I find this space of the media entertainment is just, so fascinating, right? With a lot of dynamics, and also with a lot of, innovation in the whole data and AI world. So end of day, I'm always passionate about, how we're going to really leverage the data and AI to drive transformation and drive innovation. I think this is really the perfect space in the media entertainment world. So, end of day, I think I would say anybody has a passion, right, in this area for data and AI, follow your passion. Changes mean more opportunities. So then you will find a lot of things will be ahead of you, and then just embrace it. And I think you will find more probably interesting challenges and you can solve in the space.
Most important question: what's your favorite piece of content on HBO Max right now? I have my answer.
First of all, I'm looking forward House of Dragon. So that's in August. That's coming. I'm a big fan of Game of Thrones. But my all-time favorite HBO and HBO Max show is Succession. That's just always feel that's just one of the best dramas being made. So yeah. So that's.
Anyone from Fox or News Corp in the room? Well, by the way, Hacks is the right answer, but no. If any
I love Hacks.
Hacks is amazing. Watch Hacks; it's so great. Duan, thank you so much for joining us, sharing your insights. I think the innovation that you've been able to lead on the HBO Max side now, as kind of Warner Brothers and Discovery are coming together, I think it's going to be super exciting. You're probably in the most exciting space that we get to work with. So we're just super excited that you could share your journey with us, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Everyone, thank Duan Peng.
Thank you.
All right, we are now going to be joined by our. If I'm going the right way here, we're now going to be joined by our expert panel. We'll be talking about some of the topics that Duan and I covered, as well as a few other new ones. So first off, I'd like to welcome to the stage Martin Ma, who is the Global VP of Engineering from Warner Brothers Discovery. Bin Mu, who is the VP of Data and Analytics at Adobe. Bhavna Gadania, Head of Strategic Partnerships for Acxiom. Rafael Zambrano, Head of Data Science from LaLiga. And last but certainly not least, Michael Stewart, who's the VP of Marketing Science from Condé Nast. So, panel, welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm super excited to have all five of you, because I think we hit every cross-section of publisher, sporting league, agency, MarTech platform, broadcaster. So we've got a little bit of something for everyone today. Before we get started, though, I'd love to start with Martin. Just tell us a little bit about your role, kind of your role within the organization, kind of what your focus area is.
Absolutely. So I oversee engineering on the Warner Brothers Discovery, on the legacy Discovery side, and my team builds content discovery experience, and also manage data platform that drives all the downstream impact based on the data platform.
I'm also a big 90 Day Fiancé fan, so thank you for Discovery.
All right, great show.
Ben.
Yeah, well, thank you. I run the organization for data and analytics for Adobe. It's horizontal, so supporting all the functional departments. And right now, one of the major strategic initiatives is migration of our on-prem data center from Hadoop over to Azure Cloud onto Databricks platform. So that's 1,800 nodes, about 40 petabytes of data migration.
Okay, that's right up there. That's a big one.
Exactly.
Bhavna.
Hey, Bhavna Gadania with Acxiom. I am on the corporate strategy group, and I head up our platform partnerships. So strongly focused on formulating and implementing our software solutions and new capabilities with partners such as Databricks to advance our software solutions and our new products to market.
Awesome. Rafa.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rafael Zambrano. I'm the head of data science at LaLiga Tech. LaLiga Tech is the technological company of LaLiga, which is the main football or soccer competition in Spain. And about 6 years ago, it was decided to transform LaLiga into a data-driven organization, and we start to implement a lot of technological solutions, and that worked so well that it was decided this year to create this company, LaLiga Tech, in order to empower other competitions in the sector of sports and entertainment. So we have developed a lot of products like OTT platform, fan activation system, tools for engagement of the competition, and also for managing the competition, and we are trying to extend all these solutions to other sectors in the sport and entertainment.
Awesome. And Michael.
Michael Stewart with Condé Nast. In case anybody is not super familiar with Condé Nast or thinks of Condé Nast as Condé Nast Traveler, we're a global media company. We operate in 32 markets around the world. We directly interact with about 1 billion consumers around the world in specific verticals that relate to their passions. I lead the analytics, measurement, performance optimization, and insights capabilities specifically related to our data and digital products, really try to deliver maximum results for our revenue partners. So once we've built a model, once we've activated and deployed a model, how do we really maximize performance for all of our partners?
Awesome, and a great segue coming from the marketing world. So personalization clearly is one of the hottest topics that we have in the world of data science, whether it's a combination of, how do you execute on personalization? What is the role of CDP within an organization? How can you kind of scale these things? We probably couldn't have a better panel to talk about this, given that we have a marketing sciences lead focused on personalization. We have a company that is a CDP in Adobe, and also Acxiom as a partner that's helping companies deliver personalization at scale. Would love to start on, maybe we'll start with Michael. Tell us a little bit more about your Condé's kind of journey around personalization. And I think you've got a particularly fascinating story because you grew up out of print, and now it's you probably have more data than most other organizations on the planet, just based on how consumers are engaging with your content. So.
We absolutely have a ton of data, and it's just amazing. I think to sort of echo a little bit of what Duan was touching on earlier, to me it's just so fascinating to live at this intersection of data, business performance, and creativity. Like, our biggest product is our content, whether it be that video, digital imagery, spoken word, and it's just really, really fun to sort of sit in that intersection. So our journey for personalization, like a lot of publishers, has been going on for years, but we've really doubled down in the past 4 or 5 years, significantly investing in the people, processes, technology capabilities to take our personalization capabilities to the next level. It's interesting because Databricks was an early partner, in that journey. We certainly knew what we wanted to do, but we really didn't know the best way to enable all of those capabilities. And so we leverage personalization across multiple aspects of our business. We have multiple revenue streams, most publishers do. So we leverage personalization on the commercial side of the business, really, very simply put, to deliver relevant advertising to consumers. We leverage personalization on the consumer side of the business, and you had touched on this, driving revenue directly from consumers, be that through subscriptions, through paywalls, through commercial or affiliate links. And then we also have a lot of really interesting applications on personalization on the editorial side. So how do we drive more engagement, more time spent, more loyalty out of our consumers, help them discover everything about their passions and their interests, but also help them discover things they didn't even know that they liked. So it sort of crosses the gamut.
And Rafa, how do you think about this? I know fan engagement, is absolutely critical, and trying to figure out how do you look at fan through the lens of LTV rather than transactions? How have you guys thought about this at LaLiga?
Yeah, for us it's very important. Regarding our fans, we basically try to answer 2 questions: who they are with the profile data, and how they behave with the telemetry data. So anything that our fans do. We register and we store it in our data lake, so we have a 360-degree view of our fans, and we can understand them and know, for example, how the use of games or apps related to the content of our OTT platform, or maybe how the social network engagement relates to the downloads of a particular application. So yes, we have this 360 view of our fans, and with our digital ecosystem, we can create interconnected journeys to make personalization one of the most important things in our company.
Coming from like the data engineering lens, where these guys are coming from more of kind of the data science world, right. How do you think about this, as you're kind of building a lot of the tools and the pipelines that the data science teams are consuming?
Right, so I think there's two aspects of that. Is for data you already have versus data you don't have yet,
yep.
Right? It's about bringing the right amount of personalization based on user concern and make that data available for downstream consumption. There's first-party data. There's also bringing third-party data, second-party data for enrichment, making sure there's enough materials, raw materials, and some of them fabricated materials for downstream to consume. So it's about how do we make high-quality data flowing through downstream and make business impact using the data.
So this is, I know I kind of in my preamble mentioned CDPs, and we have, Bin from Adobe, Bhavna from Axiom, where in your case you act as a CDP. In Bhavna's case, you're in many cases building CDPs for customers. Would love from your lens, tell us more about, how you think personalization can be enabled via CDP, or kind of what the right approach is for customers that are kind of thinking through this, knowing that many of these decisions around CDP and personalization oftentimes are not driven by a data or an IT team, but are oftentimes, especially for Adobe, are driven by marketers.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the capabilities that we're building, and also we ourselves, Adobe, because we're also providing the product to our own customers as well. Mm-hmm. So it's also part of that. Is among everything, so one of them pops out as critically important, which is real-time to latency, low latency response. Meaning is if a customer or consumer having certain actions on your website or in the app, the moment that taking that actions or event, that event happens, what will be the next response, which include next best action, next best offer, next best recommendation, as well as how the product would respond, react to that event, all happening at real time at about 50 milliseconds to 200 milliseconds. So that real-time data processing capability in combination with computed attributes, that's probably too much terms or jargons over here. It really is happening in real time, knowing what you're doing and knowing what we want to recommend you to do, as well as building that capability into the platform that can provide it to our clients so that they also will have that capability to reach to their customers. So that is something really critical, and we're building and we're implementing that. And through the small case test, we have seen tremendous amount of even an uplift on ARR coming from that.
Bhavna?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And we're seeing CDP is part of any modern marketer's toolkit. Values there, what it does, combining all of that siloed, disparate data sources, absolutely 100%. But a CDP without a data strategy underlying it, a CDP without goals of building out identity, especially with cookieless world approaching us, I think would be an epic fail. Underlying data strategy, strongly bolstering your CDP with identity as end game, is like the setup that you need to succeed and gain that market share, and gain that wallet.
We're seeing a lot of, I think that lines up with a lot of what we're seeing. We're seeing customers that are thinking of CDP and are thinking about like marketer toolkits as an extension of a data strategy rather than copying the data, replicating it. So it's very much something we're bearing out in the market. I mean, you talk about cookieless world. Again, not a day goes by I'm not asked on our perspective on cookieless world. Oftentimes by customers who probably should be telling me their perspective, but there we go. Would love to hear, I think really some of the core issues that we see within the industry are around things like, what do we do in a world without cookies? How are we driving our compliance and privacy regimes? There's still, I think, many companies that are struggling to kind of get their arms around things like GDPR and CCPA, which certainly aren't new, but certainly it is an area where there has to be investment. Would love to kind of hear from everyone, how are you addressing privacy? How are you thinking about, life beyond cookies and kind of what your organization is doing to get ready for this world? I'll start, Martin, cool if I start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a core aspect of that is when we talk about cookies, a lot of third-party come to my mind, third-party data, third-party cross-traction. And while there's a lot more effort that the 80-20, the 80% of the task can be done through your own first-party data. So it'll be a lot of focus on that. For example, you bring an onboarding experience. I know some folks call it the zero-party data, where you really try to collect data, ask your user for what they wanted to watch. And use that as your main driver to solve the co-star problem, to solve other problem with the data that you haven't unleashed yet. So focus on first-party data while making sure that you really respect the data coming from the user, have their consent, manage the data properly. I think that's basically the path forward to making sure you have the data to drive that experience. And so it's not the cookieless world, you can still deliver the best experience to your user.
Which is great for the consumer because it really just forces you to enhance your consumer experience.
Exactly.
And if they're going to give you PII, there has to be a value exchange there. Yep. Ben, how are you guys thinking about privacy as well?
Well, I'm not able to say anything more after this. Seriously. But related back to what I mentioned early on, is actually also using the first-party data and also using the events that are happening at the same time in-app or anywhere it is to drive the decision, combining together, then cookie is just so yesterday. Why in the world anyone would need cookie on that? That's really becoming a question is, why would you still need cookie? Go away.
I like cookies.
Me too. Yeah, chocolate one.
Yeah, those ones, exactly. Bob, I mean, you guys are like literally, you're consulting on customers for GDPR, CCPA, data product, like.
100%. There's not a day that goes by where we're not addressing compliance, regulatory questions, privacy, endless moving pieces. I would say for cookieless world, yes, answer simple, build identity. 3 very simple paths. You've got to build it. You've got to collect it and connect it. When you build it, build that R graph. You've got that data. Start connecting and stitching it together. When you collect, obviously, make sure you're doing it with privacy in mind and consent, using authentication or anything from your web assets as well, and then connecting it together to have that full extended 360 R graph we've got Axiom R graph out there, which will connect that for you. And we've tested it against cookies because we already have clients thinking about this from years ago who are operating and they don't care that cookies are going away because they're getting better results, higher match rates, and it's a return on their ROI that they're visualizing as well. So,
Rafa, I suspect for you, I mean, operating across many borders, and particularly with a lot of the GDPR regimes that exist within Europe, it's probably front and center for you as well.
Yeah, it is. Third-party cookies, I think, has been always an imperfect model. So we also try to prioritize register into our digital assets so we can get the trust of the fans. And we have been working on identifying our fans through first-party data for a long time. So that's our strategy. And we just try to prioritize the login of our users, and we want them to trust us and give us their consent through this register.
And Michael, I mean, same for you. I mean, Condé is a global business, front and also, ad, at one point ad first, but now consumer first. I assume, kind of changing the strategy around cookies as well as like the different compliance regimes is something you guys think about a lot too.
All the time, and we have been for years and years. I would say, with all of the regulatory technological changes that are upon us, absolutely we're looking at identification, authentication. But I think before you can really just say registration or identification as our goal, you need to make sure that you have the value there for consumers. So what is the incentive for a consumer to create that registration to identify themselves? Yep. For a company like Condé Nast, we've got a wide variety of brands where some of them do really well on that value side. Other brands haven't figured on that. So that is definitely a core part of our ongoing planning and strategic goals for the organization at large. We also are very much thinking about privacy as a benefit or a feature and not necessarily as a hindrance to the business. So how do we put consumers in control? Obviously historically there's been a lot of intermediaries, a lot of unclarity around where my data is, how it's going. But in all of our customer experience thinking and product planning, a lot of it is centered around putting those controls in the hands of the consumer. And then parallel, once we reach that point, how does that sort of ripple down into all of the connected systems, data engineering, data science, activation, et cetera?
Not a uncomplex thing. So it's a good segue. We're talking about privacy. I mean, one of the top things, I think the number one and number two things that customers are asking us about are like CDPs, as well as clean rooms is a big one. And of course, this week we announced support for clean rooms, super excited about it. But clean rooms is kind of one solution that we're seeing customers have in terms of, how do you kind of enhance your first party data in a world without cookies? We're seeing a lot of requests around like data sharing. I'd love to kind of open up around, data sharing and kind of how you guys are thinking about this. Like what kind of core competency is data sharing going to bring to your organization, and kind of where are you on that journey around sharing and kind of what those use cases look like? I'll start, Rafa, maybe I'll start with you this time.
Data sharing is crucial for us. Our commercial offer consists on data domains that we are offering to another companies. We are not only working for LaLiga now. So we want them to exploit all the data in the way they want. No, not only with dashboards, but they can access to the data through APIs, through dashboards in real time, or maybe ad hoc services. And we also are implementing sandbox machines in order they can access and see all the data that they have. So yes, we're developing these data domains in which our clients can access to any domain that they want to purchase, like the fan activation domain, the OTT domain, anything they want from us. We are providing the data we are collecting, organizing optimally, and we are sharing this with them. Lots of different endpoints. So it's like advertisers, sponsors, like other partners as well. Yeah. Bhavna?
Yeah. Data sharing is traditionally like a core competency of ours, because that's how our business operates with third-party data, our data, own consumers' data, plus doing any type of data enrichment on our platform means we've got to be super operative and have turnkey solutions for data sharing. So we've all, got the traditional methods down, wrapped up, SFTP, FTP. We have solutions and operations for Delta Share. We support that, and we understand data sovereignty is, super critical now, and there's heightened focus on the ability to manage, control, see, revoke, historically log your data, and you can do all of that now. So we've been, I'd say for a good part of 3 years with some other platform providers, enabled data sharing with file read, and we've tested Delta Share, and our clients were able to support that. I think the beauty of it is you can see everything real time. It's there. We have a lot of financial services clients who need those logs for audit as well. And so we've got full data on how it's, no pun intended, on how well it's working, how much time it's reduced. I think from our client side, just the burden of removing that task or that team to collate, wrap up, share that data, and then overnight batch processing is like no more. So I think the future looks really promising with what we can do quickly, leveraging data sharing, and also more enrichment, not only on Axiom's platform, but also natively in Databricks, and make sure that those capabilities are exposed.
Michael, I think one of the most acute needs that we see, frankly, is from the ad ecosystem in particular, where, and frankly, the thrust of most of our asks about this come from, ad publishers that are, looking to kind of expose their data to their advertisers to be able to drive, better outcomes, of course, in a world where, targeting is becoming harder, attribution is becoming a lot harder with a lot of the traditional tools going away. Would love to hear kind of, Condé's approach and how you guys are thinking about it.
Sure, so it is a particular concern, I'd say, on the advertising side of the business. So much of the historical infrastructure and capabilities are really built around, lookalike modeling, attribution, measurement. Condé Nast, from an advertiser perspective, we are just a step along the way. So we would know who, how individuals are reacting to an ad, what they're liking, what they're not liking, what they're engaging with. But that is all sort of top to mid funnel, and then at the end of the day, advertisers are evaluating performance based on conversions, and we do not always have a direct line to that. So it definitely has been critical. We are exploring all available solutions, so things like the Trade Desk, UID2, LiveRamp's authenticated traffic solutions. So there's a lot of ongoing development in the larger ecosystem. Google has sort of shifted their policy on in-browser segmentation from Flock to something called topic APIs. And so we're continuing to evolve. So we're looking at it really from two perspectives. What is part of the bigger ecosystem, and we are one of many players in it, but then really also what can we control ourselves and what can we do today? So just to keep it very simple, today where we may have a lot of really robust models that are based on data sharing and all of our first-party data and user behavior, we can sort of envision in a world where it's more sort of a tiered approach based on, we handle segmentation and targeting for users in regulatory complex or restricted environments or technology complex or restricted environments very differently than we would handle personalization for users who have fully opted in and are, have a strong relationship with the brand. So it really runs the gamut, and we're looking at all of those options.
Awesome. Ben? How are you guys thinking about this for at Adobe in terms of more portable data sharing and kind of this? How do you release this competency for your end customers?
We do not share data. Period. We buy data for enhancement. However, joking aside, actually is data sharing is the concern of data sharing primarily related with the PII, privacy, all that related. What we're building, this is not in place yet, but will be there, is the compute processing right next to the source. What that means, I'll use an analogy of plumbing. Imagine the city of San Francisco. You get water from the mountain, and you probably got water also from rain, anywhere, and just coming all over a lot. How do you do with that? Do you want to have all the water all sent into the same water processing plant all together, so dirty, and then you process that, then later decided going where to go? Or would you rather have the water to be processed close to where it is collected? Therefore, when it's going through the plumbing process, getting into the central processing plant, it is already pre-processed. Then the plant, the job will be coming is where you need that most to send it over. And by the way, some of water, you may need to add additional ingredient there for sanitation or anything, or blocking something. So that's where is, always want to use that analogy when looking at data sharing. And it's where, how you process that, which attribute you want to tag it. Therefore, in the sharing process, those attributes either are blocked or hashed or masked or not even shared. Therefore, it can go through, the content can go through, but not the privacy to go through.
I like the analogy. Very wise. Martin, how are you guys thinking about it? I mean, of course, we probably can't talk about the merger, but I would assume things like data sharing, now that you guys are coming together, it's not only a customer thing, it's probably something, as you guys are thinking about, how you drive more agility as your companies are coming together, or have come together.
My head's still with that example of water, where water's coming from. But I'm trying to answer your question here. from perspective the sharing of the data, I heard something actually from the conference last week, is the bar of how good you're sharing your data is how many copies of the same data exist across your organization, right? There's some truth to that. So I think the way how we're looking at it is how do we make sure that data, there's enablement, as well as there's governance around data. And so to use a loaded word, there's a word, democratization of the data. What that means is really to bring everyone together to say, how are we going to deal with the data together so we don't copy the data? Because if you make sharing the data hard, people will start copying the data. I'd rather to go my own way of building up the data. So the thinking we have is to making sure there is a proper way to do governance around data and provide enablement. Everybody's a part of the sort of ownership, drive co-ownership of that data and start sharing. How we start to get there? We started with our migration to Databricks, and we started with more sort of Unity Catalog, the layer of the next level of infrastructure to enable us to do that, to make sharing easier. So we don't create multiple copies of the data. Hopefully the score will be better after that.
Awesome. I think it's I always like to call, like, customers when we're talking about, not copying data, it's like that in kind of building and scaling data platforms. I like to call it an easy bake oven architecture, like, set it, forget it, provide the self-service capability that you need to have data go wherever it needs to go. And we're hearing more and more customers that are just like wrangling their arms around, architectural decisions that are having impact on the business's ability to actually derive insights simply by not copying and coding off of stale data and the like. Switching topics a little bit, we talked with Duan a little bit about like talent. All of you are, like Databricks, hiring and looking for talent, and no surprise, this is a pretty hard market to be able to find data engineers, data scientists. For the audience, we'd love to hear from you on kind of any kind of tactics or strategies that you've used in terms of, bringing talent into your organization, specifically technical talent. What's worked, what has not worked, what's kind of been best practice as you've scaled your teams? I'll start. Ben.
Oh, gosh. I have no answer. I have all the challenge, but no answer here. It is tough, and especially in the Bay Area, Databricks have been stealing our talents all the time, and
I hate to tell everyone we're hiring 2,500 people this year. So.
That's exactly right. So it's really a tough market, and I wish I have an answer, and maybe some of you have an answer. However, I do see that is what we're trying to put in place to address that is, besides of forward-looking in anticipation with the market downturn, with the recession, blah, 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 all that the labor market will start to soften and we'll be able to grab people. I believe so, because I've been there, done that 3 times. So it is going to be resolved when recession hit. That's guaranteed. However, before recession hit, I don't know how long that is also looking at just spread across on the global operation and try to, the pain, just spread it, and also with more diverse operation, using that to do as a hedging, such as India, Romania, Canada, Spain, Peru. There's one great place up for grab, so I'm going to share here because I'm not going there, but you can go there. Argentina.
Huh.
I used to have an operation over there before Adobe of 50 data scientists and also data engineers. It's really a market up for grab.
We're going to Argentina.
Go Argentina, and it's still cheap.
Michael?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, the past couple of years have been tough. It's certainly unprecedented, the challenge we have in attracting, retaining talent, and it's not just all of the opportunities that are available to, data professionals from the very beginner level to the very senior level. We also have everything with the pandemic that has impacted the world in which we work in, and now users no longer think, or employees no longer have to think in terms of their employment opportunities, within a 10-mile radius or commuting radius, right? Presumably you can work anywhere in the world, and I think all collectively we have made that work, right? We've all had work from home policies and things are shifting. I mean, I think in terms of what has really worked for us, it's a little bit about a change in the employment calculus, if you will. So, what is becoming much more important to our talent is, to a certain degree, making sure that their values align with ours. And it's not just about how much am I going to take home on my paycheck, but how are you going to mentor me? How are you going to give me opportunities to grow in the future? How am I going to be able to contribute to the overall equation? I mean, we certainly have not solved it at all, and it's been a little bit of a seesaw. I do hope things will stabilize a little bit, but I would say recruiting and retaining talent is one of our biggest organizational challenges and has been for about a year now.
Martin?
I'm going to start with how we're actually looking at it. By the way, shameless plug, our San Francisco office just opened officially right across the street from Databricks.
Oh!
I'm going to say...
Do you open so that we can steal your engineers?
I'm hoping for the other way around. Well, all jokes aside, it's hard to hire, especially the Bay Area. I 100% agree with Ben and everyone said about that. The way how we're looking at it, we're looking at the talent as a funnel, right? There's a different way of stage of people you're bringing into your organization. So we establish a great talent funnel all the way from interns to new grads. Actually, we have one new grad hire here with us at this session. And they're doing great because we have the funnel created. It's about making sure your brand's there, making sure they share the vision the same we're going to do. I think one of the advantages to us is that we now own our largest data catalog, along with all the content that we have, largest content catalog in the media industry. That draws a lot of attention from the talent perspective. And on top of that, the other side is your existing talent pool. They might not be sort of wanted to continue the path they're working on right now. They may be thinking of other directions, especially on data and AI and ML. Those are very, very interesting and have a bigger market from the direction perspective. So we're looking at not just from a hiring perspective, building the funnel, but also from educate perspective, because we believe in transferable skills. People can be transferred into different roles. They can make a bigger impact. We're very welcome to from that perspective as well.
Bhavna, from the agency space, it's a highly kind of transitional space. Like, would love to hear more from.
It is, and surprisingly, we've managed to retain a lot of our talent. I think where we're struggling is attracting new talent as we're growing. Certainly, as a brand, we're evolving and just rebranded recently, trying to be more sexy and more attractive and show that, yeah, we're a 50-year-old data company, but we are leaps and bounds, ahead of our competition. One of the things for retention, when I think about all of the items you said, definitely echo that. I think a lot of it's got to do with the culture. Retention through the pandemic was, over 90%, which is huge. And it's how Axiom has adapted internally. Culture shifted to say, okay, we're about the people now, and yeah, we've got to support our clients, but we've got to look at our people, look at people's mental health, look at what's going on at home, have underrepresented group, have time to just chit chat. It's not about work all day. Implemented, no meeting Fridays, no meeting Mondays, kind of really listening and having that internal associate voice. And our CEO will sit down and have a discussion with you to say, like, how are you doing? And I think that's helping. There's also numerous new BRG groups that are supporting underrepresented groups, women, schools where people are in high school and are trying to think about, what do I need to do next? Like, can we offer internships via a non-traditional academic path? 100%. Why not? And I think that those are the things that are starting to really create a new path for us.
Rafa, you're in like you have the coolest use cases. You guys all have cool use cases, but like Rafa's use cases are like, don't tell us you have a problem too.
Yeah, in Spain we also have this problem. Probably not much as here, but luckily there's a lot of specific training in data, and we can find more and more specialists and talent. But it's difficult. It's a lot of demand, a little supply, and many people also want to work remote, so they want to work on the beach, and we have to go to the office. But we are growing a lot. LaLiga, 6 years ago, they were 50 employees. They are no more than 700 maybe. Wow. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it's also true that we can retain this talent because we promote also like emotional security. You can take risk. You can make mistakes. It's not a problem as long as you learn in the process. So I think that it's important to promote this kind of emotional security. That don't be afraid of getting fired because you can innovate. You can do a lot of stuff as long as you learn and you share with the others.
So our learning is everyone's in the same position, and we need to go to Argentina. Next panel in Argentina. Our last question before we wrap up. You guys are all customers. You're all doing some pretty amazing and cool stuff building on our platform. As you guys are looking out over the next year, what are the use cases that you're most excited about as you're kind of continuing your journey around all things AI? I'll start with Michael, and we'll work our way down.
Do I have to pick just one?
You can give a couple.
I mean, quite honestly, and I know this sounds disingenuous, but I'm really excited about all of them. I sort of thrive in turbulence. The future is changing so rapidly. So I think all of the external pressure about how data is used, how we control it, how we put consumers in a little bit more of a driver's seat, those are fascinating problems to solve, and I love that kind of stuff. I would say any of our use cases really that, again, sort of get back to the intersection between our content and our consumers. We have good data about consumers. Behavior is relatively easy to track and classify, but there's so much opportunity with content, with written word, with digital imagery, computer vision, NLP, all of that. I'm really excited about some of our opportunities there because typically, we extract metadata about our content from NLP. We leverage, we have editors who are experts in the content who tag it, but I just think there's so much more opportunity to like categorize the creativity that this company is all about.
Rafa?
Yeah, luckily for us in LaLiga, we could make a lot of interesting projects because they invest a lot of money, so we have freedom to innovate and make a lot of projects. Like, for example, we can predict the audience, the TV audience, and the attendance of stadiums for every match in every single time stamp, and that's helped us to optimize the schedule and the calendar. Also, we have models to predict the betting odds in order to prevent fraud. We have made recommender systems for OTT, a lot of fan models also. Computer vision, sentiment analysis. We have done many, many things. And what we're trying now is to generalize this model in order to be able to sell to another customers, because we always say that for LaLiga we made a Ferrari, but not everybody can afford a Ferrari, so we need to make these models more general in order to sell to another customers in the media and sports sector.
Awesome. Bhavna?
I'd like a Ferrari. I think we're really diving into machine learning on Databricks and what we can do for our clients. So one of the use cases, say you're licensing 500 licenses, we want to make sure all 500 are effective for our clients. We're using machine learning to actually determine what's the propensity that this is actually going to equate to yield higher results for you. I think some of those were early. We're making a lot more progress, and we're beta testing it with some of our clients on your platform now. So those are super exciting. And we're going back into our portfolio of here's our offerings, where can we apply machine learning and really advance those with Databricks' support as a partner and accelerate those to markets and make sure that they're digestible, without having to invest in implementing something on your platform. Just run it natively in the cloud and boom. So I think there's a lot of fun stuff to come, things that will be launched later this year as well.
Awesome. Ben, besides your giant migration, what else are you excited about? Or are you excited about the giant migration?
I'm not. Two, ML ops and multi-cloud.
Okay. Interesting. Multi-cloud. I mean, we're hearing a lot of customers talk about multi-cloud, but there's kind of talk and then there's action. So it's, I think that's going to be an interesting topic over the next couple of years.
It's all action. There's no talk. Already working with Databricks on the multi-cloud, and it's not too. Some analysts call that cross-cloud, and I said you can call it anything you want, but our data sits in multiple clouds, and from a user perspective, they shouldn't be worried about which cloud I should go to. And also, as the data analytic organization, we also shouldn't be moving data, petabytes of data from one cloud to another cloud, then moving it back and forth. So really is the only solution on that is multi-cloud and implementing with the data mesh theory. To achieve that, also need to have the federated access layer. And all of this also requires, is critical to have MLOps in place, because that can quickly detect and predict and detect if there's any breakdowns, and be able to quickly triage, pointing to that system, as opposed to for end user seeing the result, then scrambling on why. So this is where MLOps would really act as the best benefit. That's why I said two things, multi-cloud and MLOps.
Love that. Martin.
Duet's already conversation already touched on a lot of things we're planning to do with our content, from the content lifecycle and content space. To enable that, I think the thing I'm looking forward to most is the journey of fast iteration, because that's basically what enables. And we move from thousands of lines of code to a few lines of code. To gain that efficiency, really drive fast iteration, fast learning, and use that learning to guide our engineering direction and product directions. I'm very excited about that, and we're in a journey to very fast turn around the file rails to be able to drive that forward in a very, very fast speed that we never imagined before. So I'm very excited about that and continue on that path to drive innovation, enable the business through those fast iterations.
Agility.
Exactly.
Awesome. Panel, thank you so much for your insights. Everyone, let's give a hand for our panel. A fun and fascinating discussion. I have a few more, we'll hold you guys here for a minute. I have a few more things before we release everyone to go get cocktails, the most important part of the day. One thing I would do a call out on, many of you are familiar with our Solution Accelerator program. These are basically pre-built toolkits to help you deploy net new use cases in days and weeks, not weeks and months. As a company, we have over 60 of these available. We also have called on our partners to build solution accelerators as well. Outside, you will see at the reception, we have a couple of partners. Cognizant has built a solution around quality of service, quality of experience. That's super cool for those of you that are either in the communications and or the OTT space. Labelbox is also outside. They've built some amazing solutions in terms of handling unstructured data. So if you go to databricks.com/solutions, we make these solutions available to you. You can go look at them now. We have thousands of customers that have downloaded these and gotten into production again in a matter of days and weeks on some of these critical use cases, like I will show you, if my clicker will work. Like customer lifetime value, recommendation engines, customer churn, anything around gamer toxicity. Again, these are fully available today. You can go look at them. We're constantly adding to our library. As you're using these, we'd love to get your feedback. They're meant to hopefully help you accelerate your path towards production use cases. So a great resource you can call on. Also, I would call out Cognizant. I mentioned they're going to be presenting their quality of experience solution outside today. They've been a great partner of ours. Highly recommend you taking a look on kind of what a real-time streaming use case can look like on Databricks that has been built out by one of our best partners. With that, a few other things, and we'll share this out. We have a big book of media use cases. You can go to this URL that you see here. These are our top 15 use cases, as well as architectures that you can use to hopefully get better ideas on how to move quickly around deploying common use cases like recommendation engines, LTV, and the like. And also, for those of you who are not customers of Databricks, we'd invite you to give us a trial. You can go to this link and try out a trial of Databricks and try for it yourself. So with that, super grateful that all of you hung with us for 90 minutes. I know this was a longer session, but hopefully you learned something from our conversation with Dwan, our conversation with our panel. And we invite you to stay. We'll be having a cocktail reception outside on the deck from 5 to 6. It is beautiful out. Come join us, have a drink, meet some of your fellow peers, meet some other Bricksters. And we thank you again for joining us. We're so grateful that you made it to Data and AI Summit. We hope to see you again next year. And the Databricks team is ready, willing, and able to assist whenever the need arises. So we look forward to working with, continue to work with many of you in the audience today. Thanks all, appreciate it.